Okay, it says we're live, so I'm going to assume we're live. Welcome everyone to Retro Filmdango, episode
Hey,
number
Ryan.
31. What? You already
Said,
ruining
hey,
the intro.
Ryan. That's right. Talking to the person that's there.
I said welcome everyone, and there's really only Ryan watching. So, hello, Ryan. Is that what you were saying?
That's all I'm saying. Bring on Chili Willy. What does that mean?
Come on. We have 34 constant listeners to the show. I check, and there's at least 34 people that watch every or listen to every episode.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, welcome to Retro Film Dangle, episode 31. We're doing something a little bit different for this episode. Normally, it's just Richard and I talking about three movies, but we have two guests. We have Curtis from Girlfriend Versus, from CC Portable, from formerly, I guess it's formerly CC Portable now, I guess, yeah. And from Videos with Robert Picardo. He just does a bunch of stuff with Robert, Bobby P. Very good.
That's right.
And we also have Josh, Creepy Josh. Hey, Josh.
Hey. What do you want? Hey.
No, Creepy Josh from the Creepy Josh channel. He knows how to drive stick, and he taught me how to drive stick. So thank you, Josh. He's forever. Maybe I should give Josh another point for that, because Josh already got a point for just clicking on the SteamYard link and getting into the feed without bothering me at all. So
You son of a...
he already gets a point there. So he's already one up ahead of you, Curtis. Just so you know. So
Get used to it, Curtis.
but you know, Curtis.
Well, I think you're gonna need all that you can get there, Josh. So
I do like your name tag. I think it is pretty clever. So you know what? I think I'm going to give Curtis a point too. So now you guys are tied 1-1.
You should probably say it out loud for the audio listeners. I know you guys are like pro YouTube now, but
yeah, Curtis's name tag says Curtis bracket better than Josh in bracket. There you go.
technically, it's a parentheses. It's not a bracket, but
A parentheses.
Did I just don't take away
you
a
should
point?
dock the point for
No,
him
don't
being-
take away the point. I take back what I just said.
I appreciate that. I appreciate learning. I do like to learn. So it's a parentheses.
What's
What's a
going to be
bracket?
really fun, because I thought you guys were going to come in here all buddy, like going against us, but you're just tearing each other's throats out
Yeah,
before we've even begun.
No, listen. Curtis needs to get knocked down a peg here.
You think you're all fancy with your big DVD collection in the background there?
You think these are DVDs? Please. I'm a pro
can't
gamer
see.
over here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Your game collection.
Okay, before we completely devolve into something else, let's just. So we set this up a little differently than a normal Fandango. Usually it's just or Filmdango. It's usually just Richard and I picking three movies, but because these guys are so awesome with recommending movies, and Curtis is being very distracting right now. He might lose a point for that. He might if he doesn't smarten up.
I forget that we're on camera for this. I'm so used
Oh, yeah,
to
we
the
can see
audio
you.
thing.
We can see
Yeah,
it.
I had a pear or something in my mouth. It's still there.
An entire pair?
No, a hair.
Oh, a hair. I
hair.
thought you said a pair. Okay.
No.
Okay. Never going to be able to get through this. So we did something a little different. I really, Josh and Curtis recommend a lot of good movies to us. They're really the movie experts. We're just two people that complain about movies. Like I'm a dork that has an opinion about movies, and Richard is a suave dork who has opinions about movies.
I comb my hair before every podcast.
That's right. I would too if I had hair. But we did something different. Josh and Curtis both recommended a movie to us. We don't know who recommended which movie. We were sent a list of movies. Half of them were selected by Curtis and half were selected by Josh. We went through and we vetted to make sure that this wasn't a movie that was recommended by them in the past, or it wasn't a movie that we had seen before. So these were movies that we went in blindly, and when the list went back to them, they chose one film each, and that's where we are right now. We have a movie from Curtis and a movie from Josh. Does that make sense, Richard?
Yes, I was concerned because we got the list, and then I forgot that part of it of how we got down to the two, because I wanted to make sure that there was actually one from each of them.
Right.
I couldn't remember that one, but they selected from.
Selected. So then we took the remainder of that list and we put it on Discord, and we let the folks that listen to our show and who are on Discord vote for one of those movies. That's so we don't know who picked what, but the movie from the guest was 8th Grade, right? Or from the listeners, I should say. It was 8th grade. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Who picked 8th grade? Whose list was that on 8th grade?
Do we want to get into that right now, or maybe we should reveal it at the end? How do you want to do it?
Okay, so
well, we have to reveal it before a discussion because obviously in your discussion you'll kind of give it away if that was not your selection.
Not necessarily, but I don't want to necessarily if say you guys would know who did what to influence what you were saying. Does that make sense?
That's not going to change my opinion.
no, me neither.
All right.
To be honest, me neither. That's not going to change my opinion of the movie. I don't know who picked what. I have a guess. And I believe Richard does as well.
I think it would be more fun to hear who you think 8th grade was picked, or whose list 8th grade was on.
Well, I put it in the outline that before each film, Kevin and I would reveal who we think.
Okay, I guess I should
each one. Whether you guys want to tell us at that time or if you want to do it at the end, just whatever works.
Yeah, but I think we should definitely do it that way first.
Yeah, well, we'll give our opinions of who we thought it was, and then
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, so yeah, I guess that's what makes sense. It's okay. Cameras is
Falling around on the floor.
You can
back
walk
there.
around.
This isn't
Crawl in.
this isn't CNN. It's fine. Layla from Girlfriend versus just
Little cameo there.
No, that's the second
I like
cameo
that she-
we've gotten in like 6 years.
This is why, if you're listening right now, you're missing out on all the bonus features on the video. So
She
you
tried to crawl in.
You gotta do both. It was classic. Okay. So yeah, I guess that makes sense, right? We'll get into the movie. Richard and I will reveal who we think it is. And yeah, I guess maybe if you guys can hold off until the end, because then if we reveal who we think it is, whatever they say isn't going to change that, right? That
Correct.
makes sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We've already revealed who we think it is.
Well, the only thing that'll give it away is if we're talking about the film and one of them starts saying, "I hate this movie. I think it's terrible."
Right.
Maybe that'll give us a clue.
So does anyone, any of the movies that were selected here, do either of you guys feel negatively about any of the movies that we...
Well, you can't get them to say that.
I'm
just
gonna-
say yes or no. Just say yes
Well, no,
or
I'm going to say I think we can both remain fairly neutral. I think Josh and I are,
You're
we
professional.
can yeah,
All right. You can
we
hide
keep
it,
our
you can
cool.
mask
And, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I
all
think
right.
we can mask it.
All right.
I'll put
Can
aside
I-
my disdain.
Can I just say one thing before we begin? I was really impressed, as contentious as Josh and I's relationship is, I was really impressed with the entire slate of films. Obviously, I liked my choices, but when Josh sent his over, because we wanted to make sure that's why we sent you a big long list at first, is we wanted to make sure whatever we ultimately picked, neither of you had seen, which is why we did that.
Mhm.
And I thought Josh's list was fantastic. So kudos to Josh. I just wanted to say that. I was really impressed.
Thank you.
I liked all the
I haven't
movies.
seen half of your list, so I couldn't tell you.
Can we go
Curtis has
just
seen a lot
before
more
we
movies
start?
than me.
Before we start this discussion, two of the movies that were vetoed. One was the Babadook, and one was Roar. Can I just confirm off the bat, Curtis? Did you recommend the Babadook?
I think you can. I think you can
Yes.
reveal that.
yeah.
Okay,
was
because
one
I
of my
remember you did talk about that in the past. Like you mentioned that movie before, so that's the reason why I didn't want to do it, because I assumed.
Gotcha.
Who picked Roar? Is this the movie with the lions?
It is.
And then that was you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Here's a question for you guys. Was there a movie that that you really wanted to recommend, but we had vetoed, and you had to go with a second or third choice?
Nope.
Mm-mm.
First choice.
No.
First choice
So
was
first
available.
choice-
Yep.
Both your first choices.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, I think we're good. I think we should start. Does it make
Sure.
sense?
Okay.
All right. Hopefully it makes sense to everyone listening and watching. All 34 of you. All right, here we go. The first movie. Does anyone have any objection to the order that we're doing this in? Attack of the Block, It Follows, and then we're wrapping it up with 8th grade. Is that
It's
good with everyone?
chronological.
Everyone's good at that. Okay.
Sure, yeah.
I was just wondering, there might be something that important to do it in different order. Okay. Here we go. Attack the Block. Movie number 1. The rundown. The film centers on a teenage street gang who have to defend themselves from predatory alien invaders, not just one, on a council estate in South London on Guy Fawkes Night. What is Guy Fawkes Night?
That'd be for Vendetta?
V for Vendetta, that guy, the mask.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so they have a night for him.
It's essentially their 4th of July. That's when they do their fireworks and all that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's why you know how in the film the kids have the fireworks that they use as weapons.
Yes. Yeah.
It's because that a lot of people would have fireworks that night.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Film stars John Boyega,
A young John Boyega.
very young, yeah. Also known as
Star Wars.
Stormtrooper from the Star Wars. Jodie Whittaker, also known as the current Doctor Who, and some other gits, and Nick Frost. This is a Richard rundown, by the way.
Delivered on time.
Directed was, yes.
Early,
100%.
in fact.
It was very nice, very, very well done. Director is Joe Cornish. Writing credits is Joe Cornish as well. Runtime is 1 hour and 28 minutes. Box office is 8 million pounds. And so that was the budget, 8 million pounds, and it made only 4.1 million pounds back. So bit of a flop. Bit of a flopperoo. I'm kind of surprised that I hadn't heard of this movie at all, because it does have a couple of up and coming stars in it, and Nick Frost, who I do enjoy. I wonder if marketing had something to do with that flop.
There's a fun fact about marketing.
Well, let's get right into it. Fun fact number 1, I'll read it because it's short, and then I'll give it away to you guys. Feature film debut of director Joe Cornish. Richard, would you like to give us our second fun fact?
Writer-director Joe Cornish.
Like Cornish hen?
Yeah. Was inspired to make this film after actually being mugged in real life one night, much in the same way Sam was, as portrayed in the film. He noticed his 5 young assailants were as scared as he was and started researching their lives.
Interesting.
I've been
Curtis.
mugged a few times, and they were definitely not as scared as I was.
Curtis, would you like to give us the next fun fact?
Sure. The alien design was based on the aliens pictured on the Space Invaders arcade cabinet.
Oh, I didn't even
That's
put
funny,
that
man.
together.
Thinking about that. That's good.
Once you hear that, you realize.
Yeah, then you see it. Is
Josh?
that me on the number? Okay.
Yep.
The filmmakers only use CG effects when absolutely necessary and to enhance practical effects for the creatures rather than replace them completely.
Interesting. Okay, and finally, after a screening by Sony Pictures in Toronto to determine whether they should release the film in North America, Ron Sparks recommended that they change its title to Space Bears or Space Gremlins to attract a larger audience. I will admit, Attack the Block is a bit of a weird name. Like, it doesn't scream alien invasion movie.
But would you
there's
watch
a lot
something
of
called
British
Space
slang
Bear?
in this?
Sorry, what?
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was just saying, there's a lot of British slang in this. So after a while, I just assumed the block meant either apartment building or
Right.
or what do you call them? Projects.
Right.
Yeah.
They're called estates here.
Estates, right? Sorry.
What were you saying,
Sounds
Josh?
nice.
I was gonna say, would you, if you saw the movies Space Bears or Space Gremlins, would that have enticed you to watch that movie?
If we were doing our Tubi TV month, sure.
For sure, yeah, it definitely would
Sounds
click
like
on
a sci-fi porno. Space Bears.
Yeah. It doesn't sound appealing.
that. Okay.
So, one question: who is Ron Sparks? I clicked on the name and it just said he was some Canadian guy.
Kevin,
I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
you
Never heard
don't
of
know. I thought you all know.
Curtis was able to answer the Guy Fawkes thing. Come on, that's only
I-
by association.
I'm
Curtis,
looking at a
Ron
photo
Sparks.
of him right now. He's a writer, a Canadian writer and comedian. I've never heard of him.
Was he
Believe it or not, like
he a
there's
producer?
30 million of us Canadians and we don't all know each other. Believe it or not. Josh,
I
do you
will
know-
not believe it.
Josh, do you know who Ron Sparks is?
I know, I don't know, but neither does
See?
Curtis. So
He's from Chatham, Ontario.
Just straight down the road.
Pretty much, yeah. But I never heard of him. Sorry, I'm looking at him. I don't recognize him.
All right.
I know who Regis is, and rest in peace, Regis.
R.I.P.
All right. Well, who recommended this movie?
Well, first you got to say who you think.
Who you think? No, that's what I'm saying.
Who do you
think?
Okay.
That's what I'm asking. I'm asking you, Richard. Who do you think recommended this movie?
Well, my initial thought was, hey, this is set in England, so maybe that's a clue. Maybe somebody has a tie there. I thought that's a little too obvious. But as the movie went on, I realized this movie is probably targeted towards 12-year-olds. And I thought, okay, that makes a little more sense. It's more convincing. So I'm going to say this was recommended by Curtis.
I'm in agreement with you, Richard. I believe Curtis recommended this movie as well.
Why do you come to that conclusion?
The British thing, and I think he was over there, and someone it was on like British Netflix or something, and yeah, because I mean, in Britain they would have a bunch of Britain movies on the BritBox, if you will. So it was probably on BritBox, and yeah, and plus like all the slang and everything. Curtis is probably up on all that slang. So
believe.
Curtis, are you up on all that slang?
Governor? No. That was the only thing I could think of. I was trying to think of something really quick.
Okay, so
Governor.
So that pretty much leads to the conclusion that we both think Curtis recommended this movie, and we both believe that Josh recommended It Follows. I guess that's where we're going with this, and we'll find out at the end of the show who recommended what.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was wondering. Okay.
So let's get into whether we enjoyed the movie or not. Richard, do you want to go first?
That was something for those watching this. Josh and Curtis just did a synchronized sip of water.
Dang it! Why am I in league with this guy?
I didn't even see that.
It's like they were just challenged about who chose the film, and both of them had that nervous.
They don't know how this is going to go down. Okay, well, let's see.
Curtis, we know what to do next.
That's actually kind of good because we don't know who's nervous about. Like, they still don't know if we like this movie or not. We might have hated this recommendation. I don't know.
I'm going to make one prediction though. I'm going to make one prediction because after I watched all these, I went back and reviewed them in my head, and I was thinking, what does Kevin think? And I tried to watch the film through Kevin's eyes, just kind of reliving it.
It's very romantic.
And I think Kevin and I are going to be in agreement, largely in agreement on all three of these films.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
So you're going to like the one that I suggested and not like the one Curtis suggested.
Oh, this argument's never going to end.
Or you're going to like the one he did. I don't know.
Well, we'll see, won't we?
So, Richard, can I ask if you liked all three, or is there one or two?
We'll go one by one. We've
all right.
given a lot away already.
All right. Well, I'm dying to know.
Kevin just wants bulk answers right now. That's all he wants.
I'm trying to tease, keep people listening until the end because that's all we have. We can't rely on our personalities.
Is still there. He's not going anywhere.
He's got nothing better to do. The Brewers aren't on until 7:00, so he's killing time for the real game to start. Okay, Richard, what did you think of this movie? Did you enjoy it or not?
The movie started, and there was it did the Predator thing where there's like an alien coming down to the earth. And I saw that. It was like, because I didn't look at any of these movies before watching them. So thing came down. I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be an alien movie. And then I saw fireworks going off. And I thought, hey, that's clever. Okay, aliens coming down. Why don't people see it? All right, it's because the fireworks are going off. That's good enough. Crash lands. You have a woman getting mugged. I was like, oh, that's too bad for her. And then, what is it? Another meteorite hits a car.
Yes.
And then the alien comes out, and then the woman goes away, and we start following the gang of thugs that mugged her.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes obvious these are our main characters, not her. Not the poor woman who we just saw get into trouble. It's the gang of street thugs we're going to be following. And I had one of those, oh no, feelings. And it kept going on, and we kept following them. And I was like, oh no. And then I kept watching the movie, and I kept going, oh no. Sorry, this one gets a thumbs down from me.
Wow.
I got a whole bunch of notes here. But the base points were unlikable protagonists, always talking over each other, obnoxious and unclear. And I also learned why some people in their adult years do not like the Goonies. I guess if you didn't grow up with it, basically like what I said earlier, I think I think the Goonies handles it better though, because that's how kids talk. I don't like movies where you follow around a bunch of stoners. I don't like movies where the characters you're supposed to be rooting for have no reason for you to be rooting for them. And yeah, it really feels like this movie would have been very popular with 12-year-olds who are like, woo, yeah, we're always getting hassled by the feds. You know, we're going to be the heroes someday.
Richard, you're having an old man yells at cloud moment. This is great. I don't like movies about stoners.
Yeah, I've got a bunch.
Gonna get you. Sorry.
I've got a bunch of details in here of what I feel didn't make sense, or basically it boiled down to it's a humans versus aliens, simple plot, but I didn't like the characters, I didn't like the setting, and there were a lot of dumb things that didn't make sense. So, yeah, didn't do it for me.
Was there anything you liked?
I liked the thing at the beginning, the setup. I liked the creature effect. I thought when I was watching, I thought the creature effect of like the all black with the white mouth would have been really cool in an episode of Next Generation, like as an alien they encounter, and you see it only like once or twice in the episode. It would have been like a cool, wow, hey, you remember that episode where they had that space bear? That was awesome. You know, he had those really bright teeth. But it was really just, it felt like Fast and the Furious excitement of, look, they're jumping, he's running, he's got a sword, he's cutting a space bear. And I don't know. It didn't do it for me.
Now, you said things were, they were talking over each other. It was confusing. Was that because of the slang that was happening?
Partially.
Accents?
I'm not up on British slang of all the truth, believe, and all that. Obviously, it makes sense, but yeah, governor makes a little more sense to me than this. But no, it just like there were a lot of things happening at different points in the movies that would take me out of the movie and think about it logically. So either it needed to be really fun and really entertaining, or it needed to take the scientific alien stuff a little more seriously. Because this is one of those, alien comes down and there's this small select group of people that seem to be the only ones that ever see it or encounter it. Nobody believes them. So, you know, I'm fine with that kind of a silly premise. Just make it more entertaining.
Okay.
This is so awkward because the two of them are just staring with this critical look.
It's really, I've been watching them both and I cannot tell if
they're not letting it go.
No.
As much as they hate each other, they're protecting each other.
It's poker face. They are banding together much like Jodie Whittaker did with the rest of the group in that movie.
Which didn't make sense at all.
Look at that segue.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, Kevin, well, give me your overall thoughts.
Well, to start, let me just say that one prediction made on this show is already incorrect because I loved it. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it.
Really?
I thought it was fantastic. I love movies that, so obviously,
British
like reading.
movies.
I do like British movies, and
You got a thing for the British stuff.
My one criticism of the movie, even though I'm up on my British lingo and all that, I love Faulty Towers and Monty Python and all that stuff. I would have really appreciated some subtitles because I did find that the characters were talking really fast, and if I could read along, I would have been able to follow along.
You could have put subtitles on.
I did. I don't know if the file that I downloaded actually had subtitles,
but you could get an SRT file and just add it to your DLT.
I wasn't going. I wasn't going that far.
Kevin's not technologically minded. He cares about his appearance.
I'll be honest. Did I watch this one at work? I think I did watch it at work, and it was kind of like coming in and out of it. But I do really appreciate so as I could see by the budget of this film, it was £8 million, which is about $10-12 million somewhere in there. So this is a small budget movie. It's not a large budget movie. It's kind of like in the middle. And I really enjoyed the alien effect. I thought that was a great way to mix practical effects with the CG effects, having the aliens really dark so you can't see what's in there. That was a very clever way of working within your means. And I really appreciate it when movies do that. I was having fun. I was being entertained. So I didn't really care too much about plot holes. It made sense to me that the aliens were only focused on them because of the whole pheromone thing that they revealed. Spoiler alert.
Well, that's revealed
towards the end. So that's why all that was happening, why that all made sense. And they were fugitives. It's not like as if they could easily go to the authorities and explain what is happening to them because they wouldn't be believed.
I disagree.
Who would believe them? Who would believe them?
Well, that was one of my mentions here, is that early on in the movie, they are being chased by aliens. They're being chased by aliens. And then they run across the cops. And their initial instinct is, oh, run away. Make yourselves look guilty. Run away from the cops. And then they chase them. And where they could have just said, hey, cop, there are aliens there. And then the cops would have seen the aliens and believed them.
Do you think they would have? I don't think they would have.
I don't think they would have. I think they were trying to tell them too, right?
Well, the aliens showed up pretty quickly, so even when
they showed up, they didn't believe them. They were like, they thought it was other gang members.
Yeah, dog, right?
But they could have
even Jodie Whittaker thought it was a dog,
but they could have said like, "Hey, those are our other gang members," and maybe the cops would have looked over and investigated, and then saw that they're alien monsters.
But then the movie wouldn't have happened, Richard.
Then the movie wouldn't have.
The movie needed to happen,
right? Yeah, I'm sorry. The things like that, I wasn't having as much fun, so I couldn't forgive things like that. Or like in the building, are there other people that live there? They're going through the hallways, making noise and everything.
They couldn't afford to pay more people to show up.
They couldn't. Yeah, they couldn't like knock on a door and say, "Hey, can we use your phone?" These guys took my phone. I get it. That's why
they went into Jodie Whittaker's apartment.
Right. So they go to her apartment and she's ready like to call the cops and everything. They take her phone. So I get it. She can't call the cops. But then they leave the apartment. She can't like bang on a couple doors, or when they're like shooting fireworks off in the halls, nobody else hears this and comes out.
They did establish early on there was an apartment that they walked by, and it was like some people were looking out and saying, "Oh, it's just those stupid kids again," and they closed the door. So they kind of made it like as if this was commonplace, like that there were kids running around making noise all the time, and the people inside didn't want to bother.
And remember, this is probably like a rough area. You don't want to be like poking your head out if there's noise.
Yeah, but even in a rough area, there are people who are willing to tell the kids to shut up.
Well, I had fun with it. I thought it was
one thing I really liked about the movie was that they allowed the kids, because these are like younger kids. They're like maybe late teens,
mid-teens. He's mid to late teens. Supposed to be 15.
Oh, okay, yeah. I love that they allowed them to get hurt or even killed.
Yes, killed.
Like that's huge in movies that have younger protagonists. Is like they'll usually keep them alive, and it takes away the tension.
Slasher flick. It's like almost like as if you're 18 and above, and
they'll
slaughter you. But anyone that's a minor, you won't.
Yeah, and that one kid gets killed. The other kid like gets bitten on his leg or whatever, right?
Right.
And but the fact that one kid gets killed, I mean, it really ups the stakes.
Oh,
and
two.
You absolutely,
two kids get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
And now Richard said he didn't like the protagonist, but I thought that was an interesting, it would have been cliched to make the heroes of the movie the two small kids that were running around.
Yeah,
That would have been stupid.
That's Goonies. That's Goonies. That's that's Steven Spielberg stuff, right? The group in this movie is like, the guy, everyone's older brother, the jerks or whatever. And I thought that was a nice little twist on the same.
I have no problem with them being the heroes if they gave them a little more background. The leader, Moses, it's only halfway through the film that they start to give him that sense of morality of like, hey, am I doing the right thing? Should I protect this woman? And then it's literally in the last 10 minutes that they try to give him a backstory and talk about his uncle.
His arc is about like he's this, rough and tumble kid from the streets who's learning to, be a leader and like take responsibility for himself and others. I think it's a great little arc for him.
Oh, Moses is learning to be a leader. That was subtle.
Yeah. It was a little on the nose, and I thought that the other kids, I thought it was a really clever way to just give them enough. It wasn't a hell of a lot, but I didn't need a lot because this was a simple story. And when they were all, after their first encounter with aliens, when they were going back home to get whatever weapon that they needed to fight the aliens, you got just a little slice of each kid's home life. Mm-hmm. Just from going into the house and picking up a weapon, like one's like, pretending to limp in and get one over on grandma. She's not really paying attention. Dad's a jerk. He's, go walk the dog. I don't care what else you do. Just go walk the dog. You just got just a little bit. So you kind of get a little bit with characters. I thought it was enough because I think the story is just simple enough. It doesn't need anything more crazy or complex than what it gave.
Yeah, I mean, when you watch The Goonies, Richard, are you like, oh, Mikey's like, who's this guy? Oh, his parents can't afford to save the house. Please.
Oh, I'm falling into the in the adult years. Maybe Goonies is a little harder to watch. Still good, but it's. I feel the adult and being annoyed by the little kids.
Yeah.
The meteorite crashes into the car, like a meteorite falls from the sky, crashes into the car, and the guys in there immediately like, hey, maybe there's something we can steal in there. Not like, hey, there's meteors falling from the sky, maybe we should watch out. That's kind of crazy. No, let's go see if we can steal something.
It was an alien, not a meteor.
One thing that just occurred to me. Sorry. I was just going to say one thing that just occurred to me is all the protagonists of all the films we watched are like young kids.
There were a couple of combinations there. Young kids in all movies, and they're all writer-director films.
Yeah.
And I think we forgot to mention at the top of the show, Kevin kind of hinted on it, but the basis for these films was better than their budget. That's how you guys chose the films. And I will agree, they did a good job with the budget. The effects and everything looked really nice and everything. It's just the narrative just wasn't selling it for me.
I don't want to give too much away from how I feel about the other films, but I think as I was watching these movies, I thought Richard was getting called out because how he hates children and how they're written in movies today. Because I thought all of the kids in all the movies were written better than a lot of like what you get from Hollywood today. I thought all of the kids were well written, and I thought in this movie, honestly, I thought that they were fine. They were using their own lingo and all that stuff, and I don't know. I had fun with it. I thought it was entertaining. It was a thrill ride. There was special effects and all that stuff. I love the fact that they didn't have Uzis and all that. They were using weapons that were available to them, like fireworks and
that was a. Just to comment on that for a moment, the whole weapon thing, apparently that was a conscious choice by, I believe, the director, Joe Cornish. He didn't want any of the main protagonists to use the guns because then it would take on, there would be different themes of gun violence. And so he didn't want any of that stuff. He wanted to keep it fun weapons, fireworks and swords and stuff. And the only person who was allowed to use a gun was like the bad guy gangster. Who was allowed to shoot the gun. Yeah, the drug dealer. Yeah, like the legitimate bad guy was the only one he would allow to use a gun, which I thought, oh, that's such a great you don't really think about that, but as you're watching it, you're, I don't know, processing that.
It's a subtle touch.
It's a subtle touch, exactly.
I think one of the other things I saw in Fun Facts was he asked the kids, like, what would you use to fight off an alien? And their suggestions is what got into the movie.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because those things, everyone's been to the flea market where there's that one guy selling like shuriken stars, throwing stars, and like little mini katanas, right? So like, it makes sense that they, being kids, would think those things are cool. I'm going to buy that with whatever they can steal, money, whatever, and they would have those hidden around their house. So.
Yeah, there was always the kid in school that had knives. They would bring knives to school, and then they'd get suspended. I can't believe they suspended me because I brought a weapon into the school. Anyways, all right.
Can we jump to the end? Just one last point.
Okay.
I just want to get your opinion of how the story concludes. Because at the end of the film, Moses blows up a room to destroy the aliens that are chasing him, and he gets arrested. And taken away, and everyone's chanting Moses, outside. What goes on from there? What do you guys think happens? Does he get arrested? Does he get it cleared?
Oh, I think he gets arrested.
Yeah, I don't think anyone buys this story. It's if they were to make a sequel, it'd be the Ghostbusters 2 opening where Moses is arrested. He's in jail. He got sued by every county and state in New York, and he's like cleaning garbage on the side of the road.
But I think that
start falling.
I'm waiting for someone to bring it up, Curtis.
I think it plays into his redemption arc is that he's like taking responsibility because he's done some stuff, obviously, that, you can tell when they're mugging the woman at the beginning. This isn't the first time they've ever done this sort of thing. And so I think getting arrested at the end is kind of him coming to terms with what he's done and
he accepts it. He
accepting it. Yeah.
Okay. So nobody picked up on it other than me. What about the dead alien that's still in Samantha's apartment? Aren't they going to show that to somebody and say, look, there really were aliens here?
Well, yes, that could possibly happen. I'm just speaking from his arc standpoint. It doesn't really matter if he goes to jail or not.
Was it still there? Because all the aliens were in there at one point. We don't know what they did with it.
No, he killed one with the sword in her apartment, and then later on they lured the others to Moses's apartment to blow it up. So there's still one alien body laying there.
Oh, what a sequel that would make, huh? Can you? We're clearing Moses's name. We're going back to the apartment. We're gonna find the dead alien.
Are the little points in the movie.
You never see any dead aliens, though. You see them die, but you never see dead aliens.
Well, he was carrying around.
What about the one he was carrying on his back?
That was a female. It's different.
Oh,
it's different.
And yeah, the point of the other pothead guy who is like instantly theorized, well, that's the female, there's pheromones and all this, and was able to just put it all together.
He was enlightened. He wasn't fogged up with his.
Sure, he was.
I will say
even that was dumb when they shot the fireworks through the hallway and it gets all smoky, and then they decide to walk into the smoke where they can't see anything, and then of course the one kid gets dragged off and dies.
I thought
that's a cool shot,
confused. I thought he was confused. He got lost. He
got lost. Yeah.
Yeah, but why would you walk into the smoke knowing there are alien monsters in there and you can't see them?
The smoke surrounded him. He got lost as to which way to go.
They also thought they could sneak through. The smoke hides them, but it would also hide. The aliens would also hide them.
I will admit, before we get too far away from it, the whole pheromone thing with the guy like, hey man, maybe it's pheromones. That is such the writer needs to get out that exposition somehow. Yeah. And could not think of a more clever way to organically work that in. And so this guy just like comes up with this, and that's exactly what it is. I when I was watching that, I did think little on the nose there, like
good enough for this movie.
Well, it wasn't that he just came up with it. They did see the blood on his jacket from the black light, and that led him to theorize that this might be going on. I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was bad.
And again, kind of a nitpick, but I did this time watching it. I did pick up on that and go, well, that's kind of.
They got to get to the end of the movie somehow, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you had enough, right? They were. Yep. You think about it. You're writing it. You're stuck inside of this room with a bunch of weed. How long can they survive in there? You got to get to an end at some point, and I don't know. I thought it was fine. Okay, that's enough. We've been talking for 40 minutes. We need to move on. We need to get to more movies here. Movie number 2, It Follows from 2014. Richard, give us a rundown.
Yes, sir. Here we go. Ahem. A young woman is followed by an unknown supernatural force after a sexual encounter. Film stars Micah Monroe. This is why you gave this to me. Keir Gilchrist, Olivia Lucardi. Written and directed by David Robert Mitchell. Running time 1 hour and 40 minutes. Budget of somewhere between $1.3 and $2 million US, and a box office of $23.3 million. So this made money.
Huge success.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so.
Fun facts. Curtis, give us our first fun fact, please.
The film's concept derives from a recurring nightmare the director used to have, where he would be stalked by a predator that continually walked slowly towards him.
The monstrous it is often said to be a metaphor for sexually transmitted diseases and sexual promiscuity.
Let me tell you, Josh going right to the next fun fact without being prompt, that's an extra point right there. He's on the ball.
Son of a
Josh,
Curtis.
You're up 3-1 so far.
Damn it.
The time frame of the movie is intentionally kept ambiguous, so it resembles a dream. Some of the cars shown are from more recent times. Many appear to be from the 60s to late 80s. Early CRT television sets are shown whenever the characters are watching movies. Conflicting technology, including Yara on a device that looks like a shell compact, but she reads it like an ebook reader and using it as a light source at one point. Also, the girl from the beginning of the film uses a cell phone and drives a modern automobile with several modern vehicles in view.
Not only do the set props prevent the viewer from placing the year, the clothing prevents the viewer from placing the time of year. Throughout the film's short duration, clothing ranges from coats, jackets, t-shirts, and swimsuits during the day to barely anything at all at night, all outdoors with no signs of discomfort.
Although there were several shots of trees with leaves falling, and it gave me a very autumn vibe to me. Yeah.
Can we pause for 2 seconds? I forgot to get the charger for my computer. Let me grab that. It'll take me just a second.
Sure thing. That's a minus point.
Minus point. Yeah.
For not having his computer charged. Forcing me to edit.
Or I could leave it in. We could just talk trash about Curtis, like the trash he is.
Well, is he in a wine cellar? Or what is that?
He's in a very classy place.
It really looks nice. I'm digging that furniture. See the woodwork on the ceiling there?
Yeah.
It supports.
He looks like he should be on an episode of Drunk Friend podcast.
Or Downtown Abbey. Or
There you
Downton
go.
Downton Abbey? Yeah. That's where he should be. Rocket Sauce says zing, as in like none of these are zingers. Okay,
I think that was referred to the comment there where Josh called Curtis trash during his absence.
That's quite nasty.
What did I miss?
Nothing.
Everything.
Nothing at all.
Nothing.
What's this piece
I'm
of
sure
crap
Kevin will
saying
leave
about
it
me?
in. Don't worry.
It's all good. Okay, so Richard.
No, your turn to lead off.
No, well, we're talking about now. We got to say why we think Josh chose this movie, right? Because we're both on the same page that we believe Josh chose this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
If you want me to go first, I'll say that
because you liked it, right?
I'll say I believe Josh chose this movie because it felt a little bit like the movies he's recommended before. That's really
exactly
reason.
my point. We had that one episode where Josh picked all three movies.
Yeah.
The
Blue,
movies, whatever they were called.
Blue Ruin, Green Room, and
Blue Ruin, Green Room. Those are the two. And yeah, it did have that sort of a low budget I don't want to say art house, but just low budget, independent feel to it.
Yeah, that's really
that's the primary reason. Yeah.
Okay, so we're on the same page.
It felt like a Josh movie.
Okay, I'll give my opinion first. I thought this movie was okay. It's a step above, like something like Final Destination. Like for what kind of movie it is, it's a horror film. It's better than like Final Destination or those kind of really dumb movies. I'd say a big step above that. But there was a lot of things that I had issues with this movie, especially. So this movie is about this entity that follows people, and it moves very slowly towards these people. And once it catches them, it either kills them or has weird sex with them that will kill them. And once they're dead, it'll move on to the another person or something.
The person previous.
Yeah, and so the way this thing chooses who it's going to follow, we don't know. But we do know that the person who's being followed can pass it on by having sex with another person. And then the entity follows that person instead of you. Now, how this entity decides what sex is, like, I don't know if your kids are listening, maybe turn this off for a bit. Is a hand job. Is that like, does the entity follow them both a little bit, or does it get confused? Like, what constitutes sex? Does it have to finish? A blowjob's okay. Like, there was a lot of things like that really felt very weird and were not explained. Like, I've
never heard on a Filmdango in my life.
I appreciated a lot of the movie, but there was a lot that I felt, and I say this all the time, I don't need everything explained to me, but I feel like as if this movie didn't give me a better understanding of why the characters in the movie were doing what they were doing. Like, for instance, towards the end of the film, and we get into spoilers, like, their plan is, because this entity follows you slowly, their plan is to put the girl in the middle of the pool, and then they were going to throw a bunch of electric equipment, stuff that they could find around, into the pool that was going to shock the entity and kill it. How is this not going to kill the girl as well? Electricity travels, it doesn't just like, I'm just going to stay in this one little spot.
Well, I believe
going to get out.
Was, that
she
it would
runs
get
out
in, she would
really
get out. Yeah, because the thing is slow.
Ripples, and she would get out, or when she saw it, then she would get out, because it goes really slow, right? It doesn't run, right?
It goes really slow when the script wants it to go slow.
Yeah, because sometimes it'll just stand up on top of a roof and stare at you.
Exactly.
Like it doesn't move at all.
But they established that it messes with you, by changing its shape, and the guy theorizes, like, he's like, I think sometimes it just does it to kind of mess with whatever he said. I forget what he says, like to mess with you, something.
That's the high sloppy writing, in my opinion. Here's the other thing too. Okay, there's this old joke in Canada. In Saskatchewan, it'll take you 3 days for your dog to run away. Because it's so flat, you could just see what's coming a million miles away. So why didn't they just go to the prairies or something like that? Stand there, you can see the thing coming at you miles away. You have lots of time to figure out what to do. Throw some bombs at it. Shoot it or something like that. You can even tell the authorities, like, hey, throw a blanket over it and say, hey, there it is, and it's following everyone around, like, you could, there was lots of things that they could have done. I really needed a better explanation for why they did the things that they did. And then the guy that gives it to our protagonist, the blonde girl who's the lead, the guy that gives it to her, how does he come to the conclusion? Like, he just gives them a little bit of information, right? Like this thing, like he tells them about the sex thing and all that stuff. How does he know all this stuff? How did he figure this out? Did somebody tell him?
I guess it's presumed that somebody else told him.
Someone did what
it just goes back and back to when did they figure this out?
So his plan was to have sex with her so the thing would follow her. But he tells her, if you die, then it's going to come after me. Well, she could have sex with, another person, and if it kills that person, it's going to come back for her, and then it's going to come back for him until it goes all the way up the line, right? So you're still living in fear of this thing. And then what happens if you're in a relationship with someone? You just keep swapping the entity back and forth between your wife. Okay, you got it now, honey. We'll see. Come see me back in a week, and then swap it over to me. Like, there's just so many weird things in this movie. Like, the sex thing was really just, I don't know. It didn't do it with me. But
the sex thing is very like, how do you say, derivative of horror, right? Because horror always happens. Like when you think about the Friday the 13th movies or whatever, it's like it's as soon as a couple has sex, they're gonna die.
Right.
So I think that's where that comes from.
Right. And if they had a little more fun with that idea, I think that would have sat a little bit well with me. But they kind of took it a little too seriously. Like there was just a bunch of questions there that just didn't make too much sense. And then like I read a little bit about the director afterwards, and they brought that up to him. They brought up like, oh, you're going back to this trope with the sex, and his answer was, well, if that's all you got out of this movie, then you didn't pay enough attention to the movie. And I just thought that was so pretentious. It's like, what, your job as a filmmaker is to explain stuff to me, like that. You're supposed to give me a clear story. You're not just supposed to say, well, you didn't get it. Screw you. Anyways. Richard,
I got. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Richard,
what did you think of It Follows?
I got a lot of notes for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. I'll tell you, when this ask me my opinion of this movie, I was going to give you an answer based on which third of the movie. First third of the movie. This movie started. Great shot. Wonderful opening shot of camera in the middle of the road. Woman comes out of her house, is kind of running in fear of something. Camera is just rotating, like on a single point. Neighbors asking, are you okay? Is everything all right? Yeah, fine. You hear her dad's voice calling. It's like, hey, what are you doing? Come over here. And then she runs in a circle, like all the way around to go back to the house. You see an establishing shot of the car. She goes in the house, runs right back out with her car keys, gets in the car, drives away. Go to the, cut to her later. She's at the beach with her cell phone, talking to her dad, like, hey, I love you guys, whatever. Hard cut to her mangled body on the beach. I thought it was like a great opening, just really very simple solid camera work, very stylistic, tells you everything you need to know. And then later on, when you find out what's going on, it makes perfect sense why she's running this big circle. Great visual storytelling. Great parallel right after the mangled body on the beach, cut to our new protagonist, Jay, getting in the pool, and the way the water's reflecting, her body is all distorted, and it shows this kind of weird perspective. And immediately I'm linked, like, okay, mangled body on the beach, mangled body right here. She's the next one in trouble. Great visual storytelling. Go into the house, meet up with her friends and family and everything. We got this old retro TV playing like black and white movies. Is this what they're using? Is this contemporary technology? Because we just saw the woman at the beach with the cell phone, a smartphone. And there's the other friend who's got this clamshell thing. Now, already here, we've got a lot of water imagery going on. There's the beach, there's the pool, there's this clamshell thing. A lot of beaches and water in the rest of the film.
Yeah, you're right.
My mind's working like, what is he building towards? What is all this imagery? Because it's like 1950s. The one kid's got that super Richie Cunningham haircut.
Yeah.
They cut to her and her boyfriend going to the theater. It's in this old-timey theater where someone's playing the piano, like they're playing music that would probably accompany the film. And then suddenly he looks behind him and you realize he sees something that she doesn't. Okay, something's going on here. There was the woman at the beach that was seeing something. Now this guy's seeing something. What's going on? It's really interesting, and it was captivating me. We get to the point where it's the reveal of the it, and he explains like, there's this creature, and she just starts walking towards him. I thought this is super creepy, like just this simple thing of a person walking. And the person's like half dressed and kind of like in shambles.
No, completely
undressed in the first one.
In that one, the first one, yeah.
And then we get to the point where she's at college. She's at one class, and you get the nice pan around, establishing shot of the window, and there's something walking from like a distance. And like slowly you're getting this. It's just walking and walking and walking. She runs out of the class, and then there's this like old lady walking after her in the hallway. I thought, this is great. I'm so curious to see what this is building towards.
That, just pause for a sec. That casting of that old lady was so perfect. She looks so creepy just on her own, and she's got this. They always have just a kind of a neutral face for the most part. There's a couple times where they don't, but just kind of this blank stare on their face. And this old lady, like, just thinking about it right now, it just haunts me. Like, she's so creepy.
Yeah, no offense to her, she's just a creepy looking old lady.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, you got cast, so
right. So a lot of stuff going on there. I was really curious where this is going to go. Into the second third of the movie, we start to get a little bit of cliches of like, oh, the thing's coming, run away. The thing's coming, run away. And I get it. That's the point of the film. And then there was this really interesting shot at the beach where the invisible monster is coming to attack her, and we haven't seen it make contact yet. And then suddenly, like, her hair's being lifted up, the thing's pulling on her, and, you know, someone breaks a chair over it. So now we know, like, other people can interact with this. It's not just some spirit thing that only affects her. But this is also where I started to see a few weaknesses, and my brain started going into like wait, now some of that stuff from the beginning doesn't make sense. Like, for example, why in the world? Because in the first half, I had no idea why this was happening. But then I started thinking, well, why in the world would this guy who knows what this thing is go to a movie theater of all places?
Yeah.
If this thing is like always walking behind you, what would make you sit in the dark and stare at a screen and not see what's coming behind you?
You're back to a door.
Yeah. So like things like that.
Well,
Go
get into just a little bit of the pretentiousness of the director. He said that a lot of what, I can't remember what the character's name is. Hugh? Was it Hugh?
I can't. That was like his fake name, I think.
Right. Okay. Well, a lot of the stuff that he said, he might be incorrect about. He might not know everything about this thing. This is all, he just observed things and related it.
Was he wrong about the whole "it follows" thing? Because that was a pretty strong theme.
I don't know.
Go to the last third of the film. I'm waiting for all these loose ends to tie together. All the weird retro technology of like, what kind of bizarre world is this set up? There's imagery of parents. You know, there's the mother that we barely see, and they keep mentioning her. Don't tell mom, don't tell mom, don't tell mom. And then the other guy gets attacked, and it takes the form of his mom. And at this point, I realize this is nothing but auteur BS. And all the stuff I've been waiting to build up is going nowhere. And it's just a stupid horror movie. There's no message here. I was waiting for like the deeper meaning, because obviously the way it's shot and the way they take their time with these things, you're thinking there's got to be a little more depth to it. But no, it's just a really cool concept of this thing that's slowly walking towards you. But it's just a stupid horror movie. Vague imagery, no payoff. I have no idea what the parent angle was about. You had the one friend with the smartphone thing who does nothing but spout teenage philosophy.
Well, there's this book called
There's the monster that can be shot in the head multiple times, but then later on it's shot in the head and dies.
It didn't get shot in the head. If you're referring to the beach, it got shot like in the neck or something.
No, but he's talking about at the end when it got shot in the head.
No, yeah, in the end it got shot in the head, but it had never been shot in the head prior to that.
Well, at that point, I was judging this based on simply a horror movie, and it's already been debunked. You can't shoot bullets through water. It doesn't work. You can't shoot something in the head like that. So I was really waiting, like, what's the payoff with all the water imagery? Nothing. What's the payoff with all the fluctuating technology and style? I looked it up, and again, it's the author saying because this was based on a dream, he put a lot of dream imagery in the film, so it seems out of place. But the problem is the characters aren't in a dream world. So for them, it's just, it doesn't have any rhyme or reason, and it gives the writing an easy out because there are no rules. You can have a smartphone whenever you want one. You can not have a smartphone whenever it's convenient.
Yeah.
The guy on the roof, what's he doing on the roof? I thought he was just supposed to follow you.
See, and
he walks after you, but even if you drive like 100 miles away, it seems like he's still going to get there in a day. You know, it's like, where's the logic in any of this? So
see, and that felt to me like he didn't want to make it. For some reason, he didn't want to make it a period piece, probably because it would be a lot more expensive to make it a straight up period piece. But this movie would not work in a modern day setting because of cell phones. You could get out of a lot of this with cell phones. You got communication with, like, there's so many times in this movie where the person who's getting followed just runs away and everyone else is like, well, where is she? I don't know. We got to go find her. If she had her cell phone with her, you can just text her. Like, I mean, kids are connected all the time.
Yeah. There was, well, one thing you said was one of my notes right here. I wrote down, when I was watching the movie, spray paint and police station. Stand outside the police station with a thing of spray paint. As soon as it comes near you,
there you go.
Hey, look, cops, crazy monster thing.
Crazy thing. Like I said, you just go out in a field somewhere.
Yeah. Great concept, but it really just seems like an ego project. It felt like by the end of the movie, it was just the director just whacking it off to his own ego. I mean, there are so many things that are. I get the impression that he was a film student who made some kind of small film and probably got a lot of praise for it, maybe within his school, within some local festivals or whatever. And then he took those ideas and then just stretched them out into this movie, because there are a lot of consistent things that at first seem kind of clever, but they get overused over the course of the film. Like, there weren't a lot of what you would call traditional jump scares. There were a few, but I realized after a while he was doing his jump scares with audio instead. There would be this like slow fade up of and then it would just cut off. And he would do that a lot in the film, where it's like slowly panning toward a window and you're waiting, like, is something there? And it was just the audio that was doing the jump scare instead.
But there was a couple, like, I thought pretty effective jump scares. And
there was the basketball and there was the basketball.
There was when the little kid was like crawling through the hole.
Through the hole in the shed. That was freaky.
Yeah.
It was a jump scare, but it wasn't consistent with the monster who is just supposed to walk up to you. And
but I thought, right. But I thought on the whole, the tension was. The level of tension was very high throughout. Like, you were constantly on edge.
I think the director has a lot of skill, and it would be nice to see him direct somebody else's script where he wasn't so in love with the work. And you know, because that's basically all three of these movies. They're writing, directing their own things. But I think this guy in particular has a real tech-savvy director. He had some really cool shots. Yeah. There was another rotating shot that they did like in a school that looked really nice, and, you know, good blend of having the eye follow actors at just the right point to keep that shot moving.
That was one note I wrote down. I think that this is an excellent cinematographer who was given director like carte blanche as a director, because I think this movie is shot beautifully. I love the fact that it was shot in Michigan. It gave me that Sam Raimi 80s vibe, or even like the Halloween movie, even though those are in Illinois. You know, just the way, like the fall and everything like that. Everything looked fantastic. And
in fact, speaking of Sam Raimi, the theater that they go to at the beginning of the film on the date is the theater that Evil Dead premiered at.
Get out of here.
Man,
well, there you go. Can I just give you the worst jump scare in the movie? Can I just tell you that I think the worst jump scare in the movie was when they were in that house and she's looking in the closet and she's like touching these clothes, like who is this guy? Where is he? And then some random piece of the back of the closet falls off.
No, I thought it wasn't random. It wasn't random. In my mind, that was the guy creating escapes for himself within the house, because he had the things on the window to make noise, and I think he would probably have some secret passages where he could just quickly get away.
Well, why not make that hole a little bit lower so you can get through it a little easier instead of having to jump up over this
jump scare?
Because jump scare, Kevin. Couple things.
Stupid. Dumb.
Couple things that I want to say about this movie. Well, while we're talking about jump scares, so I saw this movie in the theater when it first came out, I took Layla, and oh my gosh, I forget which jump scare it was, but one of the jump scares, Layla's terrible at horror films, right? But one of the jump scares got her so much that she punched herself in the face.
How do you do that?
And I missed like the next 5 minutes of the movie because I was laughing so hard. She just, oh my God. So that was always really funny. I'd forgotten about that, but I was telling her I was doing this podcast, and she was asking about what movies we watched, and I told her that, and she was like, "Oh, that was that movie that I punched myself in." Also, yeah, like I said, I'd seen it before, and I agree with you, Richard. Concept, freaking aces, man! Like, what an awesome concept. But the whole time I had this thought, I was like, God, is this just like super pretentious? Like,
yeah.
Am I the only one? If like the thing that really gives it away to me, and I agree with everything you guys are saying, like the cinematography, amazing. But like the one girl who's pretty much her sole purpose in the whole movie is to read from that seashell thing.
Yeah.
Right.
The most pretentious, like philosophical nonsense ever.
Yeah.
And when watching it this time, I was trying to pay attention to what she was saying and like read into it and be like, what was he going for with this? And it's so hard to cut through the pretentious bullshit that it is. Like I never got there. So yeah, I'm in agreement there. The last thing I want to say is the movie, as pretentious as it is, really heavy on theme, sexual, lots of sexual themes, and Kevin always goes on about metaphors and stuff. I think this movie has a lot of metaphors for Kevin, and I was really trying to like sink my teeth into it. The one thing, so the last form that the thing takes when they're doing the pool finale climax thing is her dad.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not really hinted, or it's not clear. It's not delved into, but I think that there might be some sort of theme of sexual abuse going on. Like she was abused by her father.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Everything is so vague. It could be this, it could be that, it could be this, it could be nothing. It's just thrown in there. But
I do appreciate
the director going, well, what do you think it is?
I know. And there is a little bit like,
when he's interviewed, that's what he comes off at. Can I just mention that this thing that she's reading is an actual book. It's a 19th century Russian novel called The Idiot. And the main character in the book is a prince who is so nice, like he's just very nice and generous, that everybody, behind his back calls him an idiot because he just does things for them, right? What that has to do with this movie, I don't know, but he wanted to tie that novel into this movie, and that's how he did it with this.
Well, this is one thing that a lot of up-and-coming independent filmmakers do, is they load their films with all of their inspirations. That's why you got the Sam Raimi theater there. That's why you got all everything I studied in school. I'm thinking I'm smart on this. I'm going to put that in there. It's subtle. It's subliminal. And they're entertaining themselves. And it said when you make a work, you should be trying to make something that you enjoy. But you got to, like you said, explain it to the other people too. You can't just fill it with all stuff you get. There was one mention I saw in the facts again. They were playing cards at one point, and they're playing Old Maid, which the point is to get rid of the thing and pass it to somebody else. So there's like little touches like that basically it's all hindsight. If your film works, you can go back and look at those details and say, hey, that was clever. But if your film is pretentious and garbage, then you look at all that stuff and you just laugh at it.
Yeah, like a lot of people were suggesting that the entity, the metaphor of the entity is that it is death itself. And no matter what, death comes and gets you. And maybe it moves really slowly towards you or whatever, but eventually it gets you. Well, and it's like, okay, well, where is the payoff of that in this movie? Where does it say something, enlightening about that in this movie? There's just nothing there. It's just something that happens in this movie. It's like, hey, that's death.
There was a lot of stuff about it being about promiscuity or lustfulness, and that's why it was going after people after these like one-night encounters. But at the end, after like the two get together and it's supposed to be like they're making a real relationship, you still have that vagueness of there's somebody behind them, and like, is it the thing? Is it just a coincidence? So like the author doesn't even have an answer. You know, it's still just left completely vague.
The film almost follows the 5 stages of grief. You know, you start with denial. She's like, nah, this thing isn't real. Like, whatever. Okay, it is real. Then you move into anger, which she's like, gotta get away. It's just these kind of like impulsive snap decisions. Then you move into bargaining. All right, you know what? I'll have some sex, pass it on, boom, clear my thing. And then she moves into sadness. Oh, that doesn't work because that guy's dead. Now it's coming back to me. Shit. And then finally acceptance. You know what? I just got to deal with this. Which I thought, I don't know if that was what he was going for. Maybe that's my own pretension, but
and she found a partner to go to deal with it with her.
Well, and that kid, the main like dorky kid that's her friend that she ends up having sex with at the end, that smartest kid in the whole movie goes and bangs a prostitute. Bada bing, bada boom.
Or did he?
Well,
see, here's the other thing too. Once the entity kills the prostitute, isn't it just going to come for him?
No, but see, that's the thing. The prostitute's going to have sex with a bunch of people. You know, keep passing it on, So
because there was a couple of times
prostitute passes it on to someone else, right? Say that person gets killed. Then it goes back to the prostitute, but she's a prostitute. She's just going to keep having sex with people. So it conceivably will never get back to the prostitute unless she doesn't have sex with someone in between when it gets, you know, whatever.
There was a lot of moments in this movie too where you couldn't tell if people were having sex or not. Like there was one when it gets passed on to the guy, you see him hanging out with some girls at the mall. Did he have sex with those girls or whatever?
Well, and I think that's great. When she goes out to the boat,
that
those guys
was confusing.
But that's such a great thing. You see her like going into the water, and it's like, oh, I think I know what she's at. And then it cuts to her driving, and she's just kind of got this look on, like, had to do it. You know, like I
don't know.
I take it that she did.
It's really vague
because she almost was like happy that it was. She almost seemed relieved that okay, it's gone for now, and that's why she's surprised when it shows up again at her house.
Right, very quick, too.
Very quickly, yeah.
And I didn't think you could get a cast wet. She's wearing a cast, and she's underwater a lot in this movie. I thought like as soon as you did, it was going to fall apart on you.
Yeah,
or do they have advanced
ambiguous time frames? Yeah, ambiguous time frames.
Well, it's got that. The time frame thing is Batman, the animated series. You know, where you're like, does this take place in the 20s or the 90s? Like, where are we?
Yeah, I think that's cool when you use it as an aesthetic. I think it's kind of lame when you use it as a crutch to just get around the cell phone thing. I mean, make it a period piece or not if you can't handle the cell phone thing.
There was one line of dialogue. I forget who said it, but at some point somebody asks her, what are you running from? And I thought that is going to be like the clue. That's like kind of the key to everything. It's like this thing that follows you is based on something unique to each individual. So like for some reason it's following you because you're hanging on to some fear or some regret or some guilt. And when you overcome that, then this thing won't follow you anymore. So the whole like linking it to a sexual encounter just seems like it gave the film so many more problems than it needed of where is this coming from? Where if he came up with a different reason for this thing to follow you that just had a little more common sense to it and didn't leave all these open endings, then it could have been a much stronger film.
Well, I think the rules are pretty cut and dry on as far as passing it along through sex. Like that completely makes sense to me. Like I don't get what's confusing about that.
I guess it's all the other imagery that's just piled on top of it with the parents and everything. It's just
that's more the director wanking off with his themes and stuff. Yeah. But I thought the rule was I don't feel he ever broke his rules that he set up.
Did it have to be to completion though? Is just penetration?
Mars, you're very obsessed with this. What is the definition of sex in the thing?
Listen, if something's chasing me, I want to know what I need to do.
How do you have sex?
We have to have the scientific theory, tests a hypothesis.
Well, there's hours of begging. That's how and then I got to break down that wall. Here's another theory I have. even though I haven't said any theories yet, so this is my first theory. I believe that the entity is female, because the entity seems to kill females, and it had sex with the guy, and made them all.
That's a good theory. I've never.
Or the entity is gay, and there's nothing wrong with that.
That's good. I mean, yeah.
Okay. Anything else to say about this movie?
Great final shot. Just back to the cinematography. This was the last movie I watched before we did this, so it's like really fresh in my head. I actually finished it like 10 minutes before we got on. That last shot where the two are walking down the sidewalk, and you see in the way in the distance there's someone that might be following them. You're not sure, but then the camera switches angles and it goes behind them, and it's just from behind, but it's slowly, ever so like subtly creeping closer to them as it gets as they keep walking, and then it cuts to black. And I thought, wow, that's a really effective final shot.
All right, and you don't, and they're a couple now. See, that's where I had the couple thing in my head, because now that they're a couple, which one is it? Because like they might have had sex a few times, right? Like which one is it actually chasing? Is it chasing?
Maybe they should just have sex right now.
Yeah, let's do it, right? You know? What was I gonna... Oh, and I did feel that the pacing in parts were really well done. Like I thought, like when the entity does show up and it does slowly come after you, and like we were saying with the old lady and stuff like that, I thought all that stuff was really well done. Like I said, this guy's like a really good cinematographer. He needs someone else's material, I think, to work with or something. All right. Anything else before we move on?
Are we doing reveals now for these two, because these are the two main ones?
Let's save it right to the end.
Right to the end. Okay.
So Discord, this is the movie you chose out of the list of movies that was remaining, and that is 8th Grade. I'm gonna ask Curtis to read this rundown that Richard wrote, because I think Curtis, as an actor,
we steal these things off the internet. Thank you.
Are you saying you copied and pasted directly?
I did a whole lot of copying and pasting.
This is a good copy paste.
This is a good
one.
All right. And like introverted teenage girl likes to like tries to survive like the last week of like her disastrous 8th grade year, whatever. Like before leaving to like start high school, I guess. Gucci.
Bravo.
Yes.
You're gonna get one view on that video.
You know what? I'm going to give Curtis a point for that.
Yes.
What? I didn't even choice.
Back in the game.
He gets a point. Okay, yeah, keep going there, Chris. Got the film stars and all that stuff.
Film stars Elsie Fisher, Josh Hamilton, and Emily Robinson. It is directed and written by Bo Burnham. It has a runtime of 1 hour and 33 minutes. It had a budget of $2 million, and it went on to gross $14.3 million. So it definitely was a success, financially speaking.
At a screening in San Francisco, director Bo Burnham said he originally intended for all the young characters to communicate with one another over Facebook. When his star, Elsie Fisher, saw his script, however, she said, "No one uses Facebook," and then made that a line in the movie and had the characters use Instagram and Snapchat instead.
Bo Burnham deliberately made his protagonist a young girl because it avoided easy comparisons to his own career trajectory, beginning with YouTube videos. I didn't know he was a YouTube guy. And because when doing research into vlogs by young teenagers, he noticed the boys talked about video games and girls talked about their souls.
Very accurate.
Speaking on Mark Maron's WTF podcast, director Bo Burnham said that technology company Apple was going to provide laptops and phones for the film for free. But they were unhappy with the scene where the iPhone broke when it got thrown. As a result, those laptops shown in the film were those belonging to the crew, and the broken iPhone scene was kept in.
This was also listed as one of former U.S. President Barack Obama's favorite films of 2018.
Interesting. Okay, you guys both earned a point for those reads. That was fantastic. Very sweet.
It negates, Curtis. It negates.
Point each.
Okay. Very good. I'm giving Richard and Kevin a point for that as well. Very good.
Hey.
Awesome. Woohoo.
Kevin, you got something on your nose there.
Is it brown? You almost had me checking it. Who wants to go? Who wants to say something first about it? Who wants to go first? Okay, I'll go.
Richard.
I'll tell you my.
How many?
How big's your list?
Yeah, how big is the list? It's a big one. It's big. Richard,
this was actually a lot simpler.
Okay, I want to know. I want to know what you thought of this movie. I really want to know.
Here's what I wrote down: anxiety, struggle, self-image, peer pressure, teenager, social media.
Great list.
That's it. Okay.
That sounds like the password
of my
to turn on
notes.
the robot
I did
in
clarify
AI. Deep cut joke.
Okay, super simple, straightforward. Fine idea, weak to no narrative, extremely long way to get to the "you're wonderful just the way you are" message.
Dude,
Man,
you're friggin'
Richard,
Grinch, man.
Richard is a tough nut this time.
Wow.
3 thumbs down. I'm sorry. I
my
hated
God.
all 3 of these movies.
Oh,
3 thumbs down.
I
You
hated all 3 of these movies.
Hated. That's a
that's
Yeah.
a strong term. Okay.
strong term.
Well,
Kevin.
I loved this movie so much. I had to pause it while watching it. It reflected so much of my own life. I had built up so much anxiety in me as I was watching it and reliving my own teenagehood. I had to pause it and just like stop shaking and then watch a little bit more. I am serious. I loved it. I called Sarah right away. What this kid was going through was like the stories that Sarah would tell me, like the stuff that she went through and all that. And my God, we are the nerds at the end of this movie getting together. Like the only difference between like this movie was my life. This movie was my life from grade 7 until my 3rd year of college. That's the only difference, is that it took me from grade 7 all the way to my 3rd year of college to get to the end of this movie in my own life. But I loved it. I want this movie on Blu-ray. This is like, it was the best movie I had seen in forever. I thought the way that the kids talked in the movie was written beautifully. Like that is how kids talk. I have a niece and a nephew, and they both started YouTube channels, and they were, "Uncle Kevin, can you watch our YouTube thing and give it a like and a thumb?" Okay, I'll watch it. And I'm watching it. I'm like, yeah, that's how they talk. You know, that just, you know, and the Gucci and all that stuff. It felt so true to life, and just all the little subtle touches in this movie, all the characters. I loved it. I thought it was great.
What's a Gucci?
Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's what this little girl says at the end of the movie.
Yeah, and that must be something what the young kids are saying. I didn't get that. I don't know what that is either. I've never heard it, but apparently it must have been something.
It's just
I'm
a
even
thing,
shaking. I'm shaking right now thinking about this movie. It was so good. Okay, Curtis, what'd you think of it? Have you seen this movie?
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I think he completely nailed the teenage experience that so many people go through. Even if it's, you know, set in modern times, I think it's completely relatable. I love the relationship with the father that she has. That scene at the end around the fire when she asks him, "Do I make you sad?" Like that is such a powerful scene.
Yeah, I wish I had that.
And the way that the dad, well, because they set up the dad this whole movie to be this like complete like dorky doofus, and then gives him this super poignant, like he finally like pulls it together around the fire, and you see like, oh no, when the time is needed, he's there to be her dad, you know, and that was such a beautiful scene, and yeah, I mean it flows so good, it goes, you know, it touches on like every little important thing that teens go through, from the having a crush, the unattainable crush, you know, the birthday party, not feeling like you belong, you know, that's more of a general theme in the whole movie, not feeling like you belong. And the way the movie ends, it kind of has this almost bittersweet ending, kind of a time loop thing where she's gonna do it all over again, you know, they do it with the time capsules, where you get the time capsule that you made, you know, she got the one that she made in 6th grade, and she's opening up, and then she ends up burning it. And then the movie ends with her making this new time capsule where she's like all full of hope and, dreaming.
Yeah, but the difference is though her grade 6 time capsule was, who's your boyfriend? How many friends do you have?
Tell me how cool you are. Tell me how cool you are now.
Right.
Yeah.
Where the difference is now she's saying, tell me how your boyfriend is. But if you don't have one, that's okay too. Right. That's cool too. She grew as a character. She
absolutely
learned as a person. Again, it took me until my 3rd year of college. I'll never forget it. Anyway,
but I think high school isn't just because you go into it like, all right, I'm ready to tackle it, dude. It's still gonna beat high school down.
But she knows that. She knows that it might not work out. All the hopes and dreams that she had in grade 6, she learned her lesson, and she knows that it might not be.
And Josh, if you guys, sorry, one last thing. If you guys don't know who Bo Burnham is,
I don't.
Man, what? He's good. So he's got to be probably around my age or so. He got his start. He's like a comedian. He does a lot. He plays the piano. He would do like stand-up specials where he plays the piano and stuff. Super funny, but never in a million years would have thought that he'd pull this out as his writer-director debut. Like, man, talk about come out the gate swinging.
No kidding.
Really good.
Okay, Josh, what did you think of 8th grade?
So one of the unintentional themes that Curtis and I realized that we picked was teen horror movies. Because this movie is probably the scariest of the 3, to be honest.
No kidding.
Richard, I know that you're not a fan of the movie, but having from my memory serves correctly, you have 2 girls.
Yeah, I thought you would relate to that.
Does this not scare you to see? I mean, you're in Japan. The culture is a bit different, but I felt like it's scary to see what kids nowadays are going through. Like, yes, there's that jerk character when they're at the mall saying she's wired differently. Things are different now, and I feel like that is true to a point, but I feel like it is still the same for a lot of the kids around the world. Like, it's still happening. The movie still hits a strong chord with me. I went through a lot of the same things. My life was very different from what you would call normal and typical, but I went through the same thing. I tried to be cool. I tried to fit in. I tried to, put myself out there, and I got rejected, and it sucks. And and that's what really hit me with this movie. I watched it last night with my wife for the first time, and the whole time my wife was just like, she kind of had the same thing. She's like, I don't like this movie. I don't think because she didn't like it, but she felt so bad for the character. Maybe, I don't know if she's had similar experiences, but it was going
make you uncomfortable like that.
And I think that in that case, it's a good movie because it did make me feel uncomfortable, but I couldn't stop watching it. I had to keep going and keep watching. I think it is a good transformation of character. She does start out as an introverted character. She's trying to fit in but can't, and then she just she's making these YouTube videos. Like, she knows what she has to do. She's reading off the list. Be yourself. Do what you have to do to be yourself. Don't care what anyone thinks of you. She's not trying to convince her audience who isn't there. She's trying to convince herself of what to do.
But not only that, sorry to cut you off, but yeah. I think like the thing is, like, she's learned to live with it, to deal with it, and that might be giving my own self-projection in it. But I still go through this stuff. It doesn't just go away.
No,
you just learn to handle it. Like, there's still the cool guys at work that I'm too afraid to talk to because they got a chin-up bar in the edit suite, and I don't know what the hell. Like, I can't relate to someone. I can't relate to someone who has a chin-up bar in the edit suite. It doesn't make any sense to me. They had some video games in there. Maybe I talked to them. Yeah. But so you still kind of go through all that stuff. You just kind of learn to live with it, and I think that's what
she learning to do. But I think that. But again, the transformation of the character, she puts herself out there. She's not convincing the audience, she's convincing herself. Then she does put herself out there, and she basically gets taken advantage of, or someone attempts to take advantage of her, and then she just crumples, and it's so heartbreaking to see just the inner soul crushing moment, that moment at the fire when she's burning the box, and the father says, "What's in there?" and she goes, "Oh, just my hopes and dreams." And it was just like, I just wanted to cry. Like I felt so bad for her because again, I've been there where I felt like shit, and I didn't know where to go. And again, sometimes you still do feel that way. I like the portrayal of the father. The father, I think it's true to life. Being a new father myself, I realized that parents don't know what they're doing. And in this case, the father doesn't know. He's trying really hard. He's a dork. He makes mistakes. He doesn't say the right thing at the right time. It's very true to life. When the moment comes down, yes, he does say the right thing at the campfire, but he doesn't say it eloquently. He's stumbling over his words. He's trying to get through it. And so
he's no Jean-Luc Picard.
He's no Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah.
So as a father, I relate to the father because, if I'd watched this movie a couple of years ago, I'd relate to her. Now as I'm older, as I have my kids, I relate to him. Am I doing the right thing? Am I saying these things? Am I being the father figure that I should be instead of him? I don't know. I just think it works on a lot of levels, and I really like this movie, and I think arguably it's probably the best of the three.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. I loved it. So Richard, you didn't connect with because to think that your girls will be going through this very soon.
I'm very convinced that this is an elaborate punked scheme. You guys rehearsed so well.
Richard, you were dead inside. You were a freaking
robot. The concepts of anxiety and the self-image and all that, of course, came through very clear. I do relate to everything that she went through. I even had the exact same situation at a party in 8th grade where I called to leave because my situation was a little different. It was a graduation party. All the class was invited to go to this one girl's house. We show up there, and a few months, forget what it was, before this, I had gotten jumped in the street. And when I showed up to the party, those the 5 guys that jumped me were there. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to leave. So I had to bum a quarter off someone to go out to a payphone and get out of there. And yeah, all the things of trying to fit in and being rejected and obsessing over the cool kids club. I get all those themes. And yes, I have daughters and I'm concerned about what they're going to be going through in their teenage years and stuff. I do think I've got a closer relationship with my daughters than the dad does in this with this obnoxious brat who's constantly yelling at him and berating him and pushing him away. I thought that
he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know.
Cool guy,
I think that he doesn't know what he's doing, right?
I love you relate with the dorky dad the most.
He's the only one that's making sense in this movie.
Comparison,
and my judgment of this film, I do think it was better than the first two. I'll agree that it's the strongest of the 3 movies. The ideas of anxiety and all that come through clear. I get it. As a narrative, as a film, watching this story, everything is so on the nose and obvious. Obsesses over the cool kids and the boy. Are they going to be together at the end of the film? Oh, I hope so. She's going to get that cool boy. No, there's the dork in the pool, and that they're going to become friends, and they do nothing with him the whole movie, and then he shows up at the end. Is that supposed to be like a big reveal that, of course, they were going to bond because he was the one guy that accepted her, who she was? It's like you see everything coming a mile away. Even the scene in the car when she's getting dropped off, as soon as the one says, hey, you want to drop her off first? And he's like, no, it's all right. Okay, something terrible is about to happen. What's he going to do to her? Oh, it's so hard talking to you in the back seat there. Okay, now I got to deal with this scene. It's just like, I saw all this coming.
Because you're an adult.
It's a weak narrative.
I understand what you're saying, but what was going through my mind, for instance, in those 2 things was there's the kid. That's the kid, the kid in the pool, right? That's flipping upside down. And as I'm watching the movie, I'm like, that's the kid who she should be with. I hope by the end of this movie that she's able to piece that together for herself, And the thing in the car, like you didn't know how far it was going to go or what was exactly going to happen, how she was going to get out of it, how the other guy was going to react or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, they foreshadowed that it's probably not going to go well. As it's going on, you get that you're supposed to get that sense of dread. I think, like
Right.
like, oh man,
I mean, like this
older boy is going to do something. It's not supposed to be like a what? How did I not see this coming? Like,
right, like it's not something that happened like 15 minutes ago, and then they drag it out for 15 minutes. It was just like, hey, you in the back seat, even though we can't talk, and it was like the next thing that happened. So I don't know. Yeah. I could relate to a lot of the. Well, Josh, you had something to say, right?
Yeah. Oh, for comparison, my wife told me about this as well. Is that when she was about this girl's age in 8th grade, everything that her father did embarrassed her, and she wanted nothing to do with him. Every time her dad was around, nope, dad, get away from me, get away from me, get away from me. And so that, I think that part is Richard saying that, like, that part isn't believable because you have a close relationship, and that may be true, but for this does apply to other situations as well. Like this is a real thing that happens. So I think it is portrayed.
No, I'm well aware of it. I know that I'm going to be seen as the obnoxious dad in a couple of years instead of like the silly fun dad. But it doesn't make this movie any more entertaining to watch. Like I can relate. I can relate to all of the themes. I can relate to all of the themes that are going on here, but it's just not something I don't think you are relating to
any of it. That's the problem. You're understanding it, but you're not relating to it. It's not something.
I went through all this stuff myself. I think every one of us in the Cartridge Club community of these outsiders who have like banded together have some familiarity with these situations of the trying to fit in and being awkward.
I think you were a cool kid, and you can't relate to this. You were the kid.
He was the quarterback.
Yeah, you were the guy with the basketball that she had a crush on.
I did write down that Gabe was the most interesting character. I liked the scene with him in the pool. I liked the scene with him at the dinner where he had all the sauces lined up in front of the plate. I thought he was great, and I wish he were in the movie more.
He didn't need to be in the movie, though.
I think he was in the movie.
It's more entertaining.
There was so much to relate to in this movie, though, too. Like just like when she's at that pool party, and there's like a lot of little nice subtle touches that they did. Like you could
good cinematography too. That reveal of the pool party.
Yes,
she's upstairs and then it pulls out in slow motion, and there's just all these kids.
And the payoff is when she opens a sliding door, and it only opens up like about a foot because every Canadian puts that friggin' hockey stick in there, and they leave it about a foot so the cat can get in and out. You know. But anyways, I can totally relate to that. But like how she's just when she's walking towards the pool and she's all hunched over in that because she's a little more developed than all the other girls are. They're still kids, right? And they're skinny and they're really thin, and she's kind of
she's just uncomfortable. She's uncomfortable in her own skin.
Gets right in the pool, goes right to the edge of the pool. I mean, my God, I could. And then the meddling parents all the time, like, why aren't you friends? Why aren't you going out with so and so and all? And that mom of the mom of the cool kid that sets up the pool party, she just invites what was her name? Katrina or Kathleen or whatever.
Yeah.
The main character, she invites her because she really wanted the dad to show up, right? Did you guys catch that?
Yeah.
No, I didn't catch that. No.
Yeah, like when she shows up at the door, right away the mom like fixes her bra a little bit, and where's your dad? Where's your dad? You don't see. Like, you didn't hear it because
talking though. Yeah, it's all silent. You have to read the body language. But even before in the car, when she invites her, she's saying,
"Tell your dad."
Oh, you tell your dad. Thank you so much for helping. He's been a great help, and I can't think of.
That's why she was interested in her and having her come to the party. She wanted the dad. She knew he was single, and but. And then, trying to convince yourself, like, if you just change a few things, you'll fit in, like, smile more. I remember if I walked into school and I just smiled, people would like me. And then you realize you're a complete dork. Like, who's this guy? Like, there's just nothing you could do. Nothing you could win those people over. And when she finally blew up at them and said, you guys are so friggin' mean. You're just so stupid. I was like,
yep. Last day, go out and
just go out in style, Anyway, Totally love this movie. Thought it was fantastic. Want it on Blu-ray. Would watch again. Sarah watched it. and she was texting me the whole time, like, why did they take my life and make it into a movie? And all we did was we talked about. I got home from work because I watched this at work, and then when I got home, all we did was talk about it for an hour. It's really good. Loved it. You guys did good over on Discord. That's why Discord's better than Twitter. Because I recommend better movies on Discord. Except for Richard. But Richard doesn't like anything. If we learned anything,
apparently not.
Richard doesn't like anything.
I got an idea. How about when we do these Filmdangos, we give Richard a weekend off, and then me and Josh and Kevin get together.
Sounds good.
We do a Filmdango.
Excellent. Sounds great. I mean, there doesn't seem like anything we could recommend to him that he'll like, other than Joe Piscopo and RoboCop. That's it. So,
I will say, I take great pride in kind of figuring out people's tastes, and it's like when you cook someone food and they really like it. There's just really I love that feeling, right? Yeah. That's how I am with movies. And and it's the process. It's not something you're just going to do overnight. And I've been on a few of these Fandangos, and even back when you guys were doing the Schwarzeneggers and stuff. And Richard, you are one of the toughest people to recommend for. I feel like I got Kevin pretty much figured out, but Richard, my God, you are just some stuff you're like, oh, of course, yeah, that makes sense for Richard. And other stuff you're like, how do you not like that, you friggin' weirdo? Yeah, I'm still working on
layers upon layers.
I am working on you, man.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I got lucky with my previous recommendations.
Yeah,
he agrees with you. Wow. I gotta say, when we first started Retro Fandango, I put out a poll and I said, who's the bigger sourpuss, myself or Richard? And I was winning that poll by a landslide, and I'm like, nobody knows Richard yet. They just don't know it. And it only took, how long we've been doing this? For 6 years now? It only took 6 years, and people are finally starting to learn. Richard is the grumpy old man of the group.
Getting there. I'd say maybe I relate to this movie so much that it was just boring to see it all again. Because it's like Pee-wee. It's like Pee-wee at the end of Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I don't need to see it. I lived it.
That is a great, that's a good movie. Love that movie.
Okay, that's it. We did.
Are we getting the big reveal now?
Now we're going to get the.
Before we do the reveal, this is again a competition between me and Curtis, or Curtis and I should say.
That's right. Go back to hating each other.
Before Curtis corrects me, Curtis and I.
Thank you, I and Josh.
You lose a point. So we need to know. Obviously, Richard, you didn't like any of the three. Kevin, I
saw potential in all three, but ultimately,
okay. So here's what, Kevin, you've kind of chosen which one you like versus above the two of the first two. You kind of made which choice that you like the first one more than the second one. But Richard, between the two movies, I'm talking Attack the Block and It Follows. Mm-hmm. Of the two, which of the two would you watch again if you had to choose?
Attack the Block. It seemed to have more fun with itself. That one, although it has flaws, it's not meant to be anything too deep, and it was just doing what it felt was a fun, entertaining movie. Whereas It Follows, as we've all discussed, the pretentiousness, you can't overlook that. That's all I'm going to see when I try to watch that again.
Okay.
All right. So are we saying that both Richard and I voted for Attack the Block as the better movie?
Yes.
I would choose that as being the better of the two. Okay. Yeah.
Even though I would say I would watch both movies again, because there's a lot of I did like a lot of It Follows. I just think a lot of it is dumb. I
really enjoyed that first third of it. Really enjoyed it. It was borderline professional filmmaking. Until you get later on, and it undoes everything that I thought was being set up, and it's just nonsense.
Just like every Filmdango podcast.
It seems like we're going somewhere. I might give you a point for that, Curtis, because that is okay. Okay, so. Who is it? Would the person who recommended
before that, Kevin, do you have a idea of who recommended 8th grade?
In the
this is cool. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah,
It was on one of our lists.
On one of your lists was 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so would the person who put 8th grade on their list please stand up?
Well, you don't want to guess first?
Oh,
I'll guess first. My initial thoughts were Josh, but based on some of his comments, I'm led to believe maybe it was Curtis.
yeah.
So I would have assumed Josh, but he said something that makes me think, okay, maybe it was actually Curtis.
Well, 8th grade is on Canadian Netflix. So just to be different,
Let me put it this way. Nothing on Netflix determined our lists. These are all movies that we would have watched outside of Netflix.
Okay. Well then, screw you, Josh. I'm picking Curtis.
Okay.
Curtis recommended this movie. Okay, so who recommended it?
You are correct.
Okay. All right.
Oh, thank you.
What are you talking about?
8th grade, right?
For 8th grade.
8th grade was on my list.
You son of a... Don't you dare try and take 8th grade away from me,
It was
Josh.
on my list.
It doesn't matter. Richard hated it anyway.
No, yeah, because Josh gave it away, right, Richard? He said we watched it for the first time last
For
night.
the first time.
That's right.
No. I said my wife watched it for the first time.
That was a little ambiguity.
Okay, a little ambiguous.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So can we get to It Follows now? Who recommended It Follows?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Because back to 8th grade for a second. I was actually going to make that my pick as the pick, and I'm so glad. I couldn't have been happier when that was what won on Discord. I never in a million years would have thought that was going to be the one that won on Discord, and I was so happy it was because I wanted that to be. But I had a feeling in the back of my mind that it was going to be reviewed exactly how it was. And I was like, I don't think Richard's gonna like it. I bet Mars is gonna love it. I don't think Richard's gonna like it. And I was absolutely correct in my thinking. But I'm still really excited that we got to watch it.
You're getting in here. You're starting to get
in there.
I really thought the little girl would like that would just like Richard would be just thinking about his own girl.
I hated like all the kids in these movies.
Richard does not like kids.
Yeah, you don't.
I hate everyone's kids other than my own. Like,
I'm telling you,
the little kids are obnoxious.
The kids, how they were written in this movie was so true to life. It wasn't like that Shazam or a Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man
it's still
way.
Obnoxious. Like
kids are obnoxious.
I thought it was. Great.
It's true to life, but man, give me some
like how do you want kids written like how they are in a soap opera? Like little Billy comes in and hey mommy,
no, just don't put them in there.
Okay, little
don't
Billy, go away now.
Like what soap operas are you watching, Kevin?
Oh, come on! That's how the kid. They every time they go in, they bring the maid brings in the kid, and the maid says, "Hey, little Billy made you something. Oh, here you go, mom." And then mom says, "Oh, thank you very much. Okay, now maid, take the kids away so we can do our adult talking while the kids are off playing." And the kids are always being taken care of, in soap operas. The parents never look after the kids. They
can only be on set for X amount of minutes a day.
They got grandma or something that's watching the kids while they do the adult talking, and that's what Richard wants.
I think they should stop making kids movies. Like my kids were watching Stuart Little yesterday with Michael J. Fox, and I'm like, this movie was intended to be shown to like 5-year-olds. 5-year-olds aren't paying attention. Just make a movie for older people that's still entertaining, and kids will watch it.
I do hate that when it feels like they dumb it down, and it's like, but
like, who is this for?
Yeah, who is it for? Yeah, there's some movies that feel too much for little kids.
Yeah, and there's no point for that.
That makes sense.
Phase out the kids from movies.
Enough. Are we ready to
RoboCop?
reveal?
There are no kids in RoboCop except for the one kid. And he's only
there's kids in RoboCop 2. That's all it's about is stupid kids in RoboCop.
I'm not talking about RoboCop 2. I'm talking about RoboCop.
Are we ready to reveal?
There's a great scene in RoboCop in the drug factory after like.
Okay, are we ready to reveal?
You could tell he didn't like that.
I think he hated it more than the kids in 8th grade. You lost your position too, by the way. Josh is now.
Yeah, look at me.
He's on the.
I'm the
top
number
tier.
2. Number 2.
How does that feel, Curtis?
It hurts.
You're number 4
I'm
now.
above Curtis. I'm above Curtis.
Uh,
All right.
okay, It Follows. Would the person who recommended It Follows or put it on their list or whatever please reveal themselves now? And it was Curtis. We were right. All right.
No, you were wrong.
No,
You were wrong.
What?
You
You
said
said
I was
the
the
other
other
way.
one.
No,
I
we
was
said
still
Curtis recommended the British one.
Yeah.
What did I say? It Follows?
He's not paying
Follows.
attention.
No, what did I say? I don't
You
even
said
remember.
It
Okay.
Follows.
You
Said
said
follows. Okay.
the opposite of what is real.
It's Bizarro all over again.
I'm starting to sweat. I got flop sweat here. Oh my God.
Well, that is impressive, though, because 2 of Curtis's recommendations were vetoed, and he still got 2 of his onto the show.
So Curtis, you didn't win the match between you and Josh, but you did pick the best movie out of all 3.
I may not have won the battle, but I definitely won the war.
So-
I would say you won the battle, but not the war.
So if I'm reading this right, I'm gonna have to give Josh his point for picking the movie that won, but then I guess I'm gonna have to give you a point as well for picking the best movie out of all 3. And if I read this correctly, that's 5 each. You guys tied.
Can
in this
I
battle.
substitute
No one
something
won.
here? Can I substitute something?
I don't
here?
think that's it. The it's closed. The battle is closed.
Okay,
Ninth inning,
Curtis,
last pitch.
I would like you to check in the our private chat on Twitter.
Mhm.
I would like to also say that I was also considering putting 8th grade on my list, but I didn't.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Did you say that?
I did,
It-
which proves the confusion before when I actually thought I did put it on my list. But you're right, you did put it on your list. But
Oh, I
felt
thought
so
you were
strongly-
joking.
I was very strongly considering putting it on my list, so much to the point where I thought I had.
Oh, well, I would like an apology then.
No
You
apology.
I'm so glad that you guys are so angry at each other, because I was worried going into this that maybe there would be some shenanigans of like you actually dual recommended something and you were trying to pull one over on us.
Oh no, I'm
But
trying to
it's
be
so,
that
it's
would
so
be
nice to
stupid.
see that you hate
No.
each other.
Josh has terrible recommendations. He's a big stupid face.
I'm looking forward to putting another thumbs up on my Twitter name, Curtis. What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to you not talking to you anymore.
So Curtis, why did you recommend It Follows? Why was that your choice?
Exactly what we talked about. I was like, so I watched it in the theater and I was like, ooh, I thought that was, I really liked it, but something in the pit of my stomach didn't sit right with me. And so I have a couple friends that I get together and we watch movies, and how we do it is there's 3 of us and we kind of round robin. So I get to choose this time, you choose next week, you choose the next week after, that sort of thing. And I did It Follows one week and I was like, I really am looking forward to your guys' opinion, because they're tough. Like it's like 2 Richards, that I'm watching the movies with.
Ooh,
And I showed it to them and they both loved it. They were ecstatic. And I was like, really? I am really surprised by that. And I didn't feel I got out of it what I wanted. And so I was like, I'm going to make Kevin and Richard watch it. Someone's got to pick up on this pretension, right? And it was really just because I thought it'd be a more interesting film to discuss. And I was actually very happy with our discussion.
There's a lot
film.
to talk about in there.
Yeah. And yeah, so I got out of it what I wanted, even if it wasn't picked as the winner.
Okay. And Josh, why did you pick Attack the Block?
it was I was running between Attack the Block and Dope as my picks. Dope is also on my list.
Dope's good.
Dope is really, really good, in my opinion.
I think that's
And
better than Attack the Block. I
did think so. Dope was my initial choice, but then I was going to go through a couple of movies just to watch again. And I really like Attack the Block already, but going through it, I I just clicked on the movie to watch a couple minutes, and I ended up just watching the whole movie. And I'm just like, man, this movie just has something. It's fun. It's energetic. I like the stakes that are there. I like it shows kids actually at stake and will die. It's the one thing I don't like about like the Jurassic Park movies, because you know the kids are going to be fine. And so I like that this movie took risk in that sense. Yeah, I just found it really, really fun. Dope is also really good, but I've seen it more times that for some reason Attack the Block just seemed to grab me, and I was like, maybe they'll like it just for it being like a one night, here's the premise, go and have fun with it type of movies.
It was, out of all three, it was the most fun movie for sure. I thought it was good popcorn fun. So did you know that Jodie Whittaker is Doctor Who? And
yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Okay, I was wondering if that like factored into your decision at all.
No.
Okay.
I thought that maybe you would appreciate it, but didn't factor into it.
Okay.
Nerd talk.
I don't watch Doctor Who.
I do. And Sarah won't watch the last season with me. I got about 7 episodes to go through.
Can I say in defense of Jurassic Park, those
that movie's terrible.
Those are adventure films for younger kids, whereas Attack the Block
make
is
movies
a
for
horror
young
film
kids
for
anymore.
teenagers.
Why don't they make movies for adults?
I haven't seen the new ones. I'm talking about the original. It's the only one that I enjoy.
The first Jurassic Park is the only good Jurassic Park. Truly,
Yeah,
I stand behind Lost World, but that's just because like I really like Jeff Goldblum, but it's not a good movie.
Did you know that Jeff Goldblum was on an episode of Laverne and Shirley? Fun fact.
That is all for Retro Fandango. I would like to thank everyone for listening to this extra long episode. Thank you, Josh and Curtis. It was a lot of fun. And thank you to everyone in the Discord who voted for 8th grade. You put a movie on my list that will forever be in my heart. It was good times. Richard's heart is a lump of coal, so good luck in getting into that one. Josh, Curtis, Josh, you got anything to plug? Anything coming up that you'd like to?
No.
Nothing. No. All right. Well, you can check out him on Twitter. He's at Creep1337. Correct?
There you go. Yeah.
All right. It's good.
That's
it's good
me.
when it's written right here, right in front of me. Curtis, you got anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, you can catch me on Filmdango in October when I'll be choosing the horror film.
See, I don't have to bribe my way onto the show. I just make a suggestion.
I won a bet.
I don't have to weasel my way into the show.
Weasel? That's because you are a weasel.
Oh, man. I can see that from your actions there, Curtis.
Josh, shut up. I've been thinking about this October thing. Just we'll tease it a little bit. Just ask Tickle Feather thing.
Yes.
I think what I'm going to do the reverse thing to you guys. I've come up with 3 themes, and you guys are going to choose which theme you want to do.
Okay.
Okay.
We could do
That's
that.
a dumb idea.
Sounds good.
That's a dumb idea, Curtis.
You're a dumb idea.
I like it. So your theme, it's going to be horror related, right?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have any ideas, like any thoughts what themes you're...
I think I already have the themes. We could do it now or we can save it for later. It's you guys' call.
Well, let's do it now. I'm kind of curious. What do you got in mind?
Okay. Maybe you can ask Josh for his opinion. So, oh man, now I'm kind of nervous because I'm like, did I really think this through? Okay, hold on. Okay. All right. My 3 themes are going to be number 1, horror comedies.
Okay.
Number 2,
we already did that. Your movie is your movie was a joke. It follows the joke of a movie.
Just stay out of this.
Oh my goodness.
Number 1, horror comedies. Number 2, horror anthologies.
Okay.
And number 3, trolls.
Trolls.
Just trolls, like a movie with trolls in it?
You don't get any more than just that.
Horror comedy, horror anthologies, and trolls. Does this mean we have to try to mix all of these, or
no? You pick one of those themes, and those are the 3 movies that I choose will be in that
the
theme.
3 movies that you will choose.
That I will choose.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
So you guys can marinate
Horror
on that.
anthologies. I mean, we already did all the Nightmare on Elm Street and Jason movies, right?
No, I don't think you understand what a horror anthology is. An anthology horror movie is like a movie that has like 5 smaller stories in it.
Ah, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Creep Show or something.
like Creep Show is probably the most famous one. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what's that Stephen King one with the cat?
Creep Show.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, that is Creep. No, that's
My show.
Tales from the Dark Side. I think that's the cat from hell.
The cat and the little imp or whatever that's fighting the cat.
Oh, I was thinking about where the hitman has to go to the house because there's like a cat that is haunting them, and they say that the cat's like a demon or whatever, and he has to try and kill the cat.
No, it's like a cat protecting a family from some little goblin or something.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
Okay, I don't
It's
know
the
how-
one that's in Maine. Remember the Stephen King story
They're
that's in
all in
Maine?
That's like every single one.
Okay, I don't know how interesting this is to people. I think Rocket Sauce is already recommending Ernest movies, so I think we're ready to move on. Okay,
There's a horror comedy in there.
so we got through all your plugs, Curtis. You're all good.
I just had that one plug. That's
Just
just
that
the
one.
only. Just look forward to me on more Filmdango.
Okay, okay. I guess that's
Man,
it.
I gotta find something to get on the next Filmdango too here.
That's
No,
all
you
you do
don't.
is be a little bit creative. Just this.
We've had enough Josh on Filmdango.
Oh.
Last us for the
I'll
rest of
say
our
Got
lives.
this:
enough of
Josh was batting 1,000 until he had a little interchange with Curtis there. So you
Well,
gotta
listen-
pass that on, Josh. You gotta
Listen, we can't all be
you gotta
Curtis.
prostitute.
Okay.
Pass that forward.
I had the film that Kevin's gonna buy, so whatever. Suck it.
I would buy Attack the Block as well if I found it for.
Don't.
That's
what do
very
you-
hard to find on
Dang it,
Blu-ray.
Kevin.
I liked it. I liked
cheap.
it.
Don't just. I had a thing. You ruined it.
Sorry, I liked it. I like
used to it.
things.
Get used to it, Curtis.
I get all passionate about things I like. Okay, enough. This is giving me anxiety now that we're not getting out of here soon enough.
Wait, we only have
I need-
one more minute, and then we'll hit 2 hours. We might as well just go.
No,
this
we're
time.
over. We're 2
No,
hours
yeah,
in.
it says 2:01
live.
here. Yeah, live.
Live
it's
201.
Yeah. Okay.
It only says
All right, that's it.
1:59 for
You're
me.
on England time, okay? It's different.
All right. Are we going to do it all at the same time? You ready? Come
Well,
on.
Can't you just
Ready?
unlive it?
How do you finish a YouTube video? Right? 3, 2, 1.
Gucci! Man, what a stick in the mud over here.
No.